How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Hi everyone.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, I want to welcome you to the Bebe Means Business Show. For those of you who are first timers, you've never been on this show before, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're at the right place. This is the place to come for everything that you need to know about business and entrepreneurship. And I'm your host, Bebe Clement, and I run a group of successful small companies. I'm also the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. And every week, every Tuesday, I'm here to answer any questions that you have in relation to business and entrepreneurship, and also to give you advice and tips and knowledge and expertise on business and entrepreneurship, with the aim that you not only be successful in business, but that you become financially free.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bebe Clement, and I want to welcome you once again to the Bebe Means Business Show. Here again, every Tuesday at 1:30, we discuss everything to do with business and entrepreneurship. We discuss how to find your clients, what to do in a crisis, that kind of thing, anything to do with business. And the whole aim is to ensure that you build a business that is successful, but also a business that you can become financially free from, and you can leave a legacy. Your business should outlive you. That's the whole aim. Your business should outlive you. It can be your footprint. Your business or your company can be your footprint in the sand to tell the world that you were here and that you meant something and that you contributed something to life. Just to let you know that this is a live show and it's also interactive. So I want to hear your views, and I want to take your questions on anything to do with what we'll be speaking about on the show today, and indeed any kind of past shows that you've listened into that you have some questions about. Don't be shy. Make sure that you get those questions in. And you can hook us up on Twitter. And our Twitter handle is @StarRadioUK, or you can text us or WhatsApp us on 07539 661 744, and I'll give you that number again. That's 07539 661 744. Or indeed, you can email us at info@StarRadioUK, or join us, as indeed most of you do, on Facebook at Star Radio UK. So you can put your questions in the chat, and my producer will pass them to me. And we usually take a break around 2, and once we come back, I deal with all the questions. For those of you who don't know and you're here for the first time, I'm your host, Bebe Clement, and I run a group of small companies, and I'm also the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. Can I ask that you take a few minutes, just right now, if you're in the middle of whatever it is that you're doing, just take a few moments and hook up with me online. My email is bb@bbclement.com. A lot of you email me after the show to let me know how happy you are with the show and get your feedback. And I must say, you guys are always so gracious in your feedback. It's so wonderful to know that this program is making a difference to your business and the success thereof. I'm so appreciative of that. Actually, I had an email last week where a lady said to me, Bebe, she said, if we had to go on a business course or business courses for all the information that you give us, it would cost us thousands. So thank you so much for the quality of the content that you give. So I thought that was really sweet, and I'm really pleased to hear that it's having that effect on our listeners. Keep coming back every week. I intend to have something that will help you on your journey every week. Now, every so often, every quarter, we look at the stats and we look at the program that is voted the most interesting or the most helpful program, and we run that again. And so last week we had a repeat of the show titled First Steps to Starting a Business. First Steps to Starting a Business. So thank you very much for everybody that tuned in last week. It wasn't a live show. It was, as I said, a recording of an earlier show that everybody voted and said, yes, we'd like to hear this one again. So I'm glad that you hooked up, and I'm sure you got as much juice out of that as possible. But the week before was a live show, and the week before I had a special guest on the show. She was a psychiatrist, and her name was Annette Isibo. Managing Director of New Dawn Consulting, and we were talking about positive mental tips for entrepreneurs. And the reason why I decided to do that program was because I had read that there was a worrying spate of seemingly successful entrepreneurs who, under the pressure of entrepreneurship, were committing suicide. And we looked at people like Jody Sherman, who was 47, and he was an e-commerce guru, and he owned the e-commerce site EcoMom, and he killed himself at 47. And we also looked at Aaron Schwartz, who was a computer programmer, co-founder of Reddit. For those of you who know Reddit, very popular on-site online company, and he died at the age of 26. So, and this was even before COVID came along. And as we well know, one of the biggest side effects of COVID has been the whole mental health explosion. And so I thought it'd be important to discuss this issue. And I think the most important message I wanted to get out there was, don't think that you're alone. So if you are feeling anxious, or you're feeling depressed or overwhelmed, that is not a weakness. That is not something to be ashamed of. But the important thing is you don't just sit there and let it fester. The important thing is that you get help as soon as possible. And so thanks again to Annette. She was brilliant. She had some really good tips for us on how we can keep healthy mentally. We must afford or award to our mental health the same kind of care that we do our physical health, because actually that one is even more important. So yes, I'm really glad that so many people tuned in for that. But today we have something even more important to talk about, even more interesting, and I'm sure this is really going to help you on your journey. Today we're going to be talking about how to find the right staff. Now let me say this, ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative to the success of your business that you have the right staff. Now, I have practiced employment law for many, many years, and I can assure you, I have seen many businesses derailed because they have the wrong staff. The business idea is fine, the product is fine, the service is fine, but they have the wrong staff, and it can actually only be one member of staff. That's all you need. You need one member of staff who either doesn't understand your vision, or hasn't bought into your vision, or for some reason best known to them is planning or trying to derail your vision. That's all you need. You just need one staff member from hell to infect the rest of your staff, and you're in trouble. So to make sure that your vision is maintained, your other staff are not disrupted in their roles, your clients are not alienated by the wrong kind of staff, and ultimately you don't lose money or indeed lose your business, it is so important that you have the right staff. And I'm a strong believer that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So if you can get it right from the start, if you can recruit the right staff from the start, then that you can avoid many of the issues that I'm talking about now, about infecting the rest of your staff, or having lazy members of staff, or staff members being rude to your clients, or just not doing what they're supposed to do, or affecting your brand. So it's really important that you get the right people from the very start. So I want to give you some tips on how to do that. But before I do that, I'm going to wet my whistle. So I'm going to take a real quick break here. So you can do the same. Grab a glass of water or whatever it is that you need. And when we come back, I'll be giving you some tips on how to do just that. See you in a moment.
Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
You are tuned in, for those of you who are just joining us, you are tuned in to the show of the week, the business program of the week, BB Means Business. And I'm your host, BB Clement. And today we are talking about how to find the right staff to ensure that your business goes the way that you want it to go, that it grows, that your clients are happy, your other staff members are fulfilled. It is important that you recruit the right kind of staff from the beginning. It's very difficult to correct it as you go along, but once you get the right kind of staff from the beginning, then you're on your way to fulfilling your vision regarding your business. So today I'm going to be discussing some tips with you. Now, let's start with the whole recruitment process. So you've decided there's a job vacancy, or you've just started your business and you're just about to start building your team. So that's what we're talking about. So the first thing is, obviously, you're going to advertise that you have a job vacancy. That's the first thing that you're going to do. And in so doing, you must get the job title right. The job title in the advert must reflect exactly what it is that you are advertising. And you would think that that sounds pretty obvious, but it's not always the case. And I'll give an example that I experienced. I remember a job that I did many years ago, and it was for a trade union. And the vacancy, when I first saw the vacancy in the Guardian newspaper, I remember at the time it was in the Guardian, when I first saw the vacancy in the Guardian newspaper, it said membership advisor. Membership advisor. Now, it was a trade union position, and what the job entailed was you'd be giving legal advice to employees of different companies who were members of this trade union. But there were some other duties involved, such as ensuring that their membership was up to date, ensuring that they had paid their full dues financially, because every year they had to pay an annual fee to be a member, to ensure that they had the kind of information that they needed in relation to the services that we were offering, to signpost them to other places, that kind of thing. So when the job was advertised under the job title Membership Advisor. So when I looked at the job title, even though I saw the job description, I didn't think that the job was for me. So I didn't bother applying, because I was looking for a position in the law, but it was in the trade union that I was looking for. But that, to me, that didn't seem to be what I was looking for, so I didn't bother applying, and that went away. About 2 months later, I was looking through the same newspaper, and this time I saw a job that said Employment Law Advisor. And then it had the same job description, so I was thinking, I'm sure I've seen this job before, but this time there was more emphasis on the legal sides of the job, whereas before, when it was advertised as a membership advisor, there was more emphasis on the administrative part of the job. So this time I decided to apply for it, and thankfully I got the job. And later I was speaking to the HR director about this, and she said, well, when we first of all advertised it as a membership advisor, the quality of the applicants that we got was very poor. Most people thought it was an admin position. So even though we had said under the job description that it was a legal position, most of the people that applied were not really looking for a legal job. They were looking for a senior admin job. But when we changed the job title, we had a completely different ilk of applicants. Most of the applicants, first of all, had at least a law degree. And that's really what we were looking for. So it was interesting that just a job title totally altered the kind of people who applied for the job. So it's really important that when you are advertising, you advertise the right job title and the right job description. You need to emphasize, particularly in the first few bullet points, because people's attention is very fleeting nowadays. You need to emphasize the most important aspects of the job first. So if the most important aspects of the job are customer service, then don't start talking about the admin side of the job. Put the customer service bit first, okay? And I realize that I'm speaking to small businesses mostly. Not all of you are businesses that have 50 members of staff and you have HR directors and all that. So I'm speaking to a lot of you who are small businesses and you don't have the benefit of an HR manager or an HR director. So just to make sure that you get it right. So that's the first thing. You got the job title right, you've got the job description right, so that you attract the right kind of people that you want. The second thing, of course, once you've done that and people start sending you, let's say, their CVs, let's say that's the mode of application. Say in the first instance, send the CVs. Now, what are you supposed to be looking at in the CVs? One of the things that I would encourage you to look for are things like typos, typographical errors, grammatical errors. So let's deal with that first. Now, if somebody is applying for a job in this day and age of, spell check and things like that, where it's so easy to check mistakes on your CV before you send it out. If somebody sends me in a CV that is riddled with grammatical errors or typographical errors, there is no way I'm calling that kind of person for an interview, because it says to me this person really can't be bothered, and they give shabby work, because they know that the first port of contact is their CV. And as they say, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So they're aware that the first impression that I'm going to get as a prospective employer is their CV. And if they could not be bothered to read through the CV to ensure that there are no typos, to ensure that there's no grammatical errors, then that already says a lot to me about that employee. If they can't be bothered to do that for a job that they are applying for, it's pretty sure that when I take them on, they are going to do the same thing when they're doing work for me. They're not going to be bothered about the kind of work that they produce for my clients, and I can't have that, and neither can you. You need to have staff who as a basis have excellence as standard. You need to have that. They may not always reach that standard, but they must have it at the back of their mind that excellence is the standard, and that starts with them. So those kind of things are very, very important. They say it is in little things that you know big things. So if they can't be bothered to check their CV, then there's no way I'm going to call that kind of person for an interview. Then you look for things that, I remember there's a particular CV that comes to mind. I can still see it in my mind. It was very clear that this person had copied and pasted from somewhere else, probably in somebody else's CV. Maybe they'd gone on Google and looked for the ideal CV or something like that. But they'd copied and pasted. And they'd copied and pasted to such an extent that they had copied something that had no correlation whatsoever to the job that they were applying to. So it was very clear to me that they had copied and pasted. So I actually rang her up and said to her, it looks to me like you copied and pasted this part of your CV. And in the end, she confessed. She said, actually, she did. So even though we had a good laugh about it, there is no way I'm calling such a person for an interview, because that to me says utmost laziness. Utmost laziness. And if you need to do that, it means that you don't have enough of your own back to impress me. So you have to go and borrow from someone else. I'm not hiring someone else, I'm hiring you. So I need to see what you can do. Okay, so these kind of things, they might look insignificant, but they're actually very, very important. All right, so those are the first things. So we've talked about getting the job title and the job description right, and then what do you look for in a CV? Now, you also need to be looking at academic achievement. Now, academic achievement is important, of course, it is important, but can I just say this? Academic achievement does not tell the whole story. Now, for instance, in our law firm, it is pretty standard that we would take any people who have a 2-1. Anybody below that, it is unlikely that we would take them for a legal position. Unlikely that we would take them. In fact, all our receptionists have a law degree as a minimum, even though they're receptionists. But I remember one time we had a receptionist who had a first class in law. So it's pretty standard that they should be top-notch academically. But the point I want to make is that academic achievement does not tell the whole story about a person. I've had some staff that I've recruited who on paper, by way of academic achievement, are top-notch. But that has not translated into practice as an employee. They've not been excellent at an employee. So you need to, yes, take that into consideration, but you need to look beyond that. It doesn't tell the whole story. And increasingly, soft skills are even more important. Soft skills are more important. Now, by way of soft skills, what am I looking at? I'm looking at things like how the general feel of the CV, and particularly the covering letter. Most CVs have a covering letter. Particularly the covering letter. What is your general inkling? What's your gut feeling in relation to the covering letter? The way it has been written, the style, and things like that. Also, what kind of IT packages are they proficient or at least able to use? As a standard, they should have perhaps intermediary level of most Office packages. We're looking at Excel, we're looking at Word, we're looking at PowerPoint. They should have intermediary level, I reckon, as a standard for that kind of thing. So you need to be looking at that as well. Then you need to be looking at what do they do outside of work? What are their interests outside of work? Because that in itself tells a lot about a person. What do they spend their time doing? Do they just watch Netflix all the time or Nollywood all the time? Or do they do something a bit more substantial with their time? Are they volunteering anywhere? Are they shadowing anybody anywhere? Have they started any businesses or any charities or something like that? You need to be looking at those kind of things. What does this person do with their spare time? All that kind of thing is important. All right, we're going to take another quick break here so that if any questions have come in, I can take them in after the break. And then I will give you some more things that you should be looking at on the CV when you are recruiting your staff and building your team. Be back in a moment.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Welcome back, everybody, and it's your host, Bebe Clement, and you are watching the Bebe Means Business show. And today we're talking about how to find the right staff so that you can build a great team who can fulfill the vision that you have for your business. Just want to do a quick shout out to a couple of people on Facebook. I want to do a shout out to Shino Yusuf. Shino, thank you so much for joining us. Shino says, good job. Thank you very much for your kind comments. I'm glad that you are enjoying the show. Anybody else that wants to give a shout out, please just type your name into Facebook, into the chat on Facebook, and I will give you a mention on the show. All right. So back to what we were talking about before, and just before the break, I was talking about what you're looking at the CV. You're looking at typos and grammatical errors. You see, these tips I'm giving are actually also a double-edged sword, because they're actually useful for those of you who are looking for jobs as well, so that you know what employers are looking for, so that you can adjust your application method accordingly as well, not just for employers who are looking as well. Okay, so other things that you need to be looking at on the CV is things like, what is the distance of their home to the workplace? My rule of thumb is that anybody who lives more than an hour away, I tend not to shortlist them, because I don't want to hear stories, oh, the train was late, oh, I couldn't get a bus, that kind of thing. So you don't have to do this, but for me, anybody that lives more than an hour away, I tend not to shortlist them. Then this is a big one. This is a huge one, and very, very important that you do. I think most employers do this now. Go and check their social media. Go and check their social media, because you can find out a lot about people from looking at their social media. Particularly, I'm not so bothered about their LinkedIn profile, because LinkedIn tends to be quite a formal and professional platform, so people tend to behave themselves on LinkedIn. But go and look at their Facebook and their Instagram. But Facebook in particular is a lot more casual, and people let their guard down on platforms like Facebook. So go and have a look at what they're doing. So some of the things that I'm looking for is, for instance, if you have someone who is, let's say, football mad, and there's nothing wrong with being football mad, but you notice that every time that their team is playing away, they follow their team. So let's say their team goes and plays in Scotland, and they're based in London. They go and follow their team when their team is playing away. You know that if their team is playing away during the week, that person is going to be phoning in sick, guaranteed. So those are the kind of things that you're looking at. You're looking at their social life, for instance. Maybe they're out every weekend. Again, there's nothing wrong in being out every weekend, but maybe every Sunday night they say something like, I woke up with a hangover on Monday morning, or something like that. Then you know this kind of person, there's a tendency, or there's a potential that Monday mornings they're going to be phoning in sick, or they're going to be late because they're clubbing every weekend and they just can't get it together on time for work. So these are the kind of things that you need to be looking at as an employer. Then, you know, if you're looking at something beyond that, I mean, that's entirely up to you. You know the position that you want to fill. You know the image that you want to portray. And it may well be that some of the things, some of the views that they have or they're expressing online are not in line with whatever it is that you are offering your clients. So, for instance, I remember looking at somebody's social media, and they were making some racial comments. They made some racial comments, and I'm a black-owned company. A lot of my clients are black. I cannot have somebody who's discriminatory on racial grounds. I cannot have somebody like that working for me. Yes, I know there will be people that still have those kind of problems and have hidden it well. But yes, sooner or later it will be revealed. But I'm definitely not going to recruit someone who is very vocal about that kind of those kind of views. So these are the kind of things that you need to be looking at. Again, you know the post that you want to fill, and you know what you need to have that aligns with that position. So those kind of things are important. Go and check out their social media. I've even seen potential recruits slag off their current employer, make rude comments about their current employer online, or a past employer online. That tells you a lot. So these are the kind of things that you need to be looking at. All right, so let's say you then decide to shortlist a group of people, that you then invite them for an interview. So the first interview, nowadays we usually have probably 2 interviews. At least I do. I have 2 interviews. And the first interview is to narrow down those that have the basic skills for the job. So that's what I'm trying to do. So let's say I have a position for an administrator or a paralegal or something like that. I probably have on average about 40 applicants. So the first interview, after I've sifted through the CVs, maybe I invite 10, 12 of them for an interview. But the first interview, the aim is to ensure that they have the basic skills for the job. That's the first interview. That's the aim. It's important that you know the aim of the first interview. So you need to be watching them from the get-go. I will often tell my receptionists to watch them when they're sitting in the waiting room or in the reception room. I will ask her to watch what they do or what they say. I will also ask, how did they treat the receptionist? Now, you might think this is a sneaky thing to do, but it's very, very important. My business is very client-oriented. I'm all about the client. So offering good customer service to me is really, really important. And I've discovered that you can tell a lot about people by the way they treat those that they think are beneath them. So when you have someone coming from maybe a legal position, they usually think that the receptionist is beneath them. You can tell a lot about people, about the way they treat people who they think are beneath them, or people that they think they cannot benefit from. Very interesting. So I will often ask my receptionist to give them specific instructions, like sit in that chair or fill this form or that kind of thing, and just give me a feedback on their attitude when they were asked to do something like that. That tells me a lot. Sometimes I have even changed places with my receptionist, and I have acted as a receptionist just so that I can have a feel for them. And then had my receptionist ask them to come into the interview room, and then I have followed her into the interview room and taken over the interview. And you will sometimes see them go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you were the business owner," that kind of thing. And you know, I'm secretly thinking, well, that was the whole point. That's why I did it, because I wanted to know who you really are. So those kind of little tests are important, because again, you can find out a lot about people when you do things like that. Now, I often have, again, my administrators or paralegals on the interview panel, because I find that they will notice things that I may not necessarily notice. So it's a good idea to mix up your interview panel. Don't just have senior management on your interview panel. Mix it up. Have somebody else who can look at the candidate from an angle that you've not thought about. I find that to be very, very useful. Right. So what you need to be looking at is things like, find out what they know about the company. In this day and age, I would expect a prospective applicant to, at the very least, have checked our website. So I will ask, as part of the interview questions, I always ask, what do you know about our company? And some will start to fumble. Oh, I know you do speaking and training. Yes, but what do I do speaking and training in? Those kind of questions are important, because that shows you somebody who is really interested in the job. And then I will ask them, did you check our website? And they say yes. Okay, so when you checked our website, what did you find out? And they will tell you. If they're lying, you will know. And then I might ask, what did you think of the website? How could you improve the website? And they would tell you. What did you think? Were you able to navigate your way through it? That kind of thing. It's important that you detect an interest, a good level of interest in your company. Don't just hire anybody that's looking for a job. They must be interested in your company and what you do. Okay, then are they aware of any changes that the company is going through? So if, for instance, let's say I'm changing the format of the company, we've moved from an office-based company to, which I have done in one of my companies, most of my employees are now working from home, and they will continue to do so post-COVID because it has reduced my overhead. So yes, so are they aware of any changes in our company? So let's say, for instance, we've recently introduced, let's say it's the law firm, we recently introduced family law as opposed to just business law that we were doing before. If that happens, we would probably put it on the website and we would say that we've just done that, or we would send something out on social media or something. It will probably come up on Google if they Google the company. So I'd like to know, again, if they have done any research into the company. If there has been a major change in my company that is in the public domain, I would expect them to have found that out. And I would expect them to have an opinion about that change. This is really, really important. This is where you know people who are serious about your business. Then I'd like to know whether they spoke to the current job holder, because again, that means the person is going the extra mile, and you can find out a lot when you speak to the current job holder. So if they spoke to the current job holder, for me that's a plus. That means they were really interested, they wanted some inside information, they were looking for something that would give them an advantage at interview. That shows me innovation, that shows initiative, that shows seriousness. These are the kind of qualities that you want to be looking for if you're recruiting. Now, first impressions really count, ladies and gentlemen. They really do count. And so you need to be watching the first impression that the person makes on you. They say that the average employer makes a decision about a prospective applicant within the first 7 seconds of them walking through the door. So obviously in 7 seconds it's unlikely that the applicant would have said much. So they're basing that that information on other things, non-verbal communication. So things like smile. Did the applicant smile? Because a smile does a lot. I remember a job that I did many years ago, and they taught us how to smile on the phone, because it wasn't a face-to-face job. It was market research. It was done on the telephone, and it was market research. And they taught us how to smile on the phone. And I thought they were crazy at the time, but it is amazing that you can actually detect somebody that is smiling on the phone and the difference it makes to the phone call. So did the person smile when they came through? Because I don't want somebody who is grumpy working with my team and bringing down the morale. I want someone who's jovial. I want somebody who's friendly. I want somebody who's smiling. I want someone who's a good team member, who gives off the vibe of being a good team member. That's the kind of person I want to recruit. So how were they dressed? How were they dressed? Were they dressed like they were going to a nightclub? I mean, I remember one particular lady turning up with, the dress, the skirt was so short that she was uncomfortable. She had to keep pulling it down. And I thought, then why do that? You knew you were coming for a job interview. Why wear a skirt that was so short that you had to be fidgeting? So again, if they're doing that at a job interview, how is their dressing going to be when they start working in my office? And the way my staff are dressed is very important to me as well. Now, they don't have to be extremely formal, but if it's an office-based job, I do expect them to perhaps wear a skirt suit or a trouser suit, or at least a shirt and trousers, that kind of thing. I don't expect them to turn up in a t-shirt. I don't expect them to turn up in trainers, those kind of things. So I'm looking at stuff like that, because the way you are dressed says a lot about you. Did they shake hands? Were they confident enough to shake hands? The kind of business that I'm in, it's important that people are able to shake hands. Were they confident enough to do that? And if they were, how was the handshake? Was the handshake firm, or was the handshake limp and sweaty? Those kind of things are important in the world of business, believe me. So it does actually take a lot to be confident enough to shake hands. It takes a lot. So that says to me, okay, I can send this person out to my type of clients, and they can hold their own. They're not easily intimidated, so they can hold their own. Again, this is quite important. What was their posture like? Were they slumped in their chair while you were talking to them, like they were sitting in front of their TV or on their sofa? Or were they sitting like they really, they were serious about what they were there to do? All those kind of things tell you a lot about a person. Personal hygiene. Was their personal hygiene good? Did they have any habits, any distracting habits? So for instance, while you were talking, were they doing things like playing with their hair, things like that? Or were they distracted by something in the room? Or, did their phone go off? Yes. Did they keep looking at their phone, or did their phone go off and they had to apologize? Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't put that off, that kind of thing. That's quite important. Those kind of things are quite important. That tells you that this person is going to be easily distracted while they're working. I can't afford to have that. I can't afford to have that. So those are the kind of things that you are looking at. What kind of vibe did the other panel members get? If you have a consensus about a thing, like they say, yeah, well, she looked okay, but I don't know, there was just something about her that made me feel, if you have that kind of feeling and it's confirmed by somebody else, go with your gut. Go with your gut. It's very important at that stage. Go with your gut. Did they ask questions? I never, as a rule, never hire anybody, no matter how well the interview has gone. I never hire somebody who, when I say, do you have any questions? They say no. Because that says to me that you haven't thought it through. You haven't thought it through. And I cannot see how I could have sat with you for 30, 40 minutes and you could not think of anything to ask about the business. Then to me, it shows it's a sign of laziness, and I will not hire that kind of person. So did they make any valid contributions to the things that I asked them? So I might have said something like, did you go to the website? Yes. What did you think of the website? So I want to hear their genuine opinion. And I'll say to them, be honest. If you find it difficult to navigate, then let me know. And they will give me an opinion about the website. They might say something like, I felt that if I could have gone from this to that, it would have been easier for me. I didn't really understand the necessity for this page, or I couldn't find the office address on that page, that kind of thing. So I need, because I'm looking for people who are not just going to maintain the status quo. I need people who are innovative, who can take my business forward. That's the kind of people you want in your team, that are not just going to fit in with what they met there and make no contribution. I want someone who's going to take the business forward. It doesn't matter what level they're at. It doesn't matter whether they're just an administrator or whether they're senior management. I need someone who is going to contribute to the vision and pull the vision forward. So these are the kind of things that you're looking at. Another valid question is, why do you want to leave your current job? You'll be amazed the number of people who will say things that clearly they're saying inadvertently. If they thought about it, they probably wouldn't have said it. So they might say something like, oh, I just don't like the environment. So you can dig a little bit more. What's wrong with the environment? So they might say, oh, there doesn't have any promotion prospects or things like that. So then you will know. So if, for instance, it's a position that the person in front of them is unlikely to leave the job, so the chances of them getting promoted are very limited, then you know that maybe this person is not the right person because they want to go forward very quickly. It's important to them to go forward very quickly. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with ambition, but it just means that you know that once they realize that promotional prospects are limited, at least in the near future, they're going to be looking for another job. And so you're going to be here again in 6 months' time recruiting for the same position, and you don't want that. Who's got the time? So these are the kind of things that you need to be looking at. So once you've done the first interview, do a second interview. I would encourage you. The second interview is to make sure that they are the right person for the job. So you remember the first interview was to see that they have the basic skills, to whittle down the number of people that have the basic skills. But this one is to ensure that they are the right person for the job. So this one, they've got to wow you. They've got to wow you. It's got to be over and above what they did in the first interview. So I might, for instance, I might mention a problem that we're having in the business and ask them how they would solve that problem. What would they do to solve that problem? Or something that we perhaps are doing, we think we're doing wrong, or we think we could do better, and ask them how they would go about doing it better. Or even better, if you've had a complaint that has identified an area of weakness in your business processes, share that with them and ask them what they would do to remedy that. How would they have handled that complaint, and what would they do to remedy it? These kind of things are really important. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of building a great team, not just recruiting staff, but building a great team. And I must say that, you know, I don't think I've ever, aside from one particular person who I think had learning disabilities, so it's a bit difficult for him. Apart from that, my staff have always been very good, very good. Now, at this stage, they should also be asking you questions. They should be asking you questions about things like I said earlier, promotional prospects, professional growth, bonuses, things like that. They should be asking you questions like that. So once you've done the second interview, you decide, okay, I've now narrowed it down to maybe 2 people. Then you're looking for what they do after the interview. So find out from so you can tell them that if you have any questions or whatever, you can get in touch with, maybe give them the contact details of your receptionist or your administrator. You can get in touch with so-and-so, that kind of thing. We will let you know by the end of the month whether we've recruited you or not, whether you've passed the interview or not. Find out if they actually contact that person. Again, that says something about them. So it might be they want some feedback. I'm particularly impressed with people who ask for feedback, because it says to me that they want to grow. They're not even looking just at your business. They're looking at their own personal development, which is important. So they want to know, okay, what could I have done better? What was really good? You know, where did I fall down? Those kind of things are important. So find out if they actually do contact your company for things like feedback. Some people, one of the things I used to do when I was applying for jobs is I always used to send an email, get the contact details of whoever interviewed me, and always send an email thanking them for their time and expressing how much I would like to work for the company or I'm looking forward to doing so. So those kind of things are the extra mile kind of acts that really tell you that, yes, this is the kind of person that we need on our team to build a great company. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending again today. I hope you found that useful. We will be here again next week. I'll have another topic next week. And during the week, please look out on social media. I'll be letting you know what we'll be speaking about next week. And if there are any specific areas of your business that you would like me to do a show on, please just let me know. Again, you can just email us or put it in the chat or phone us and just let us know what it is that you would like to for us to do a show on, or any particular area in your business that you are having problems with that you would like some information on. I can build a whole program around that to ensure that it helps you solve your problem and makes your business better. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great week, and stay safe, stay well. And remember what I always say, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life. Bye-bye.